The 8-hour workday, the ability to vote, being able to marry the person you love. These were all won by protest movements. But the right to protest is under threat, and it has been for a while. It's time now to seriously protect it.
You get it?
Yeah, I got it.
From First Nations resistance and workers' rights movements to women's suffrage and the 78ers who fought for LGBT+ rights, it's thanks to the courage and vision of these brave groups of people that we enjoy the freedoms we have today. Of course, these movements weren't always popular, and at times they faced fierce opposition.
Let us vote in favour of any legislation which allows for the elevation of the Aboriginal people. They don't do these things. They talk about it, but they never do it.
But time and time again, we see the power of people and our communities. Take the workers' rights movement, for example. In early 1800s Australia, people worked up to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. There was no leave and workers could be fired at any time for no reason. Early attempts to call for better conditions resulted in lashings and imprisonment. By the 1850s gold rush, migrants were bringing the skills they'd learned from overseas workers' movements, and together they formed unions to negotiate with their employers. When the negotiations failed, this now organised group of workers walked off the job and began to march. The movement continued throughout the 19th century, gradually winning the 8-hour workday for more and more groups, and by 1948, the 40-hour, 5-day working week had been won for all. In other words, protest won the weekend. That reminds me, it's nearly time for me to knock off. That's why courageous groups of people continue to gather, challenging the status quo and saying that there is a better way. It has been proven time and time again. Whether it's First Nations people protecting country, nurses calling for safer conditions, or young people demanding climate action, people across the nation are raising their voices and sharing their vision for a brighter, fairer future for all. In 1972, Australia signed on to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which includes the right to freedom of assembly and association, and the right to freedom of opinion and expression, i.e. the right to protest. But those protections weren't ever written into federal law. And it gets a bit worse. Instead of recognising the rights of protesters, some states have gone the other way.
If protesters want to put our way of life at risk, they should have the book thrown at them, and that's pleasing to see.
If you wanted to protest police brutality in the streets in New South Wales without seeking permission from the police to do so, you could now end up with up to $22,000 in fines and be jailed for up to 2 years. In Tasmania, if you tried to remain at your workplace to demand fair pay, you could now be fined over $8,000. Or if you wanted to count great gliders in a native forest in Victoria to ensure that they are properly protected, that could now cost you over $21,000 in fines or up to a whole year in jail. Of course, there's no penalty for a corporation whose actions send those gliders into extinction. Without protest, we would miss out on entire communities' visions of what Australia could be. We would lose our ability to dream big, to raise our voices and fight against injustices, and to make the future better for the next generations. Without protest, we're left with the status quo, which only serves to benefit corporate vested interests. Without protests, I wouldn't be married to my wife, meaning I potentially get to enjoy divorce, just like everybody else. Thankfully, if you tell people not to protest, they protest. We care about our future and we're not about to stop. For everyone's sake, we all need to be able to show up and stand up for our rights to a just future on a healthy planet. That's why all over the country and all over the world, groups are working together to challenge anti-protest laws.
These are our elected representatives. They are supposed to be protecting the people, and if they are failing at that, then it should be our right to stand up and protest.
Mustafa Tamimi is the 20th protester since 2004 to be killed by Israeli soldiers in such protests.
We're just not going to stop until that change has actually come to place and we have a free Palestine.
Their bill will not stop the movement. The movement will continue, and that scare tactic will not be allowed here. We won't stand for that.
If the Iranian government thought that executing this protester and sentencing other protesters to death would send Iranian protesters home, they were clearly wrong.
As an older person, it's my duty to stand up and protect our freedom to protest.
Change is made in many ways, by many people. It takes all types to make a movement work. Whether you're writing a letter, meeting with a politician, or marching down the street, you're making a difference. From little things, big things grow. It's true. That's why we need to protect all these little things that are key to our democracy. It's not only about us, it's about showing solidarity. It's about active allyship. It's about actually making change. And as you've seen in this video, it actually does work. It's easy to get sucked into the nihilism of it all, but that's exactly what they want. We can't let that happen. Protect the right to protest. Please share this video.